I'm an old school guy. I'm a competitor. I never believe that when you want to be the best, you beat the best. That's always been something that's driven me. Today's day and age, a lot of these guys are friends. That's like if Bird decided to go play with Magic or something. These guys, I think the competition makes the game what it is.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily podcast on fantasy basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast brought to you by Fantrax and Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and as always you can find me on Twitter at redrock_bball. Today's podcast we're going to be looking at a mock draft. We did a head-to-head auction mock draft last week or maybe the week before, I don't really remember. Today's one we're doing a snake draft, but a rotisserie draft, an 8-category, 12-team Roto draft on Yahoo. We're going to be showing the use of the draft tracker on Basketball Monster, showing the draft room as well on this video. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously we're going to be talking about it in the audio version, and to do the talking with me, I'm joined by 1/3 of Basketball Monster's team of excellent people. What a terrible introduction that is. Kyle McKeown.
Hey, thanks for having me on again, Josh.
Good to have you on as one of my team of excellent people. Let's we're talking Roto. We've got 10 minutes here before the draft starts, Kyle. So let's talk about how are you going to approach this draft in a rotisserie setting.
I'm going to put a premium on the percentages, and the reason for that is that once you establish who you are as a team with your percentages by the players that you draft, especially your players early in the draft, that's going to kind of set where you are, and your target percentages in a rotisserie league should usually be about 48% in the field goal percentage and then 80 to 82% in the free throw percentage. That's usually where the top guys are in that category at the end of a rotisserie league. So that's kind of what I'm trying to aim for with my team. I may not get a perfect 12 in free throw or a perfect 12 in field goal, but I want to get those percentages high. And the main reason that is, Josh, is that counting stats, your points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, three-pointers made. Once the league is going and you're getting deep into the season, people will stop to set their lineups, or they'll leave an injured guy in there for a few days, and they'll might miss out on some games that they forget to back up on. Well, they're going to miss out on those counting stats just because you're going to have some dead rosters. It happens in every single league. Some managers just aren't as conscientious as others. So you're going to climb up the standings just naturally through that a little bit. Whereas if somebody leaves their team alone at the middle of the season and they had a really high field goal percentage or a real high free throw percentage, that's going to stay there. You can't climb up over that unless you change your own team. It's not going to happen just by them being absent.
Yeah, exactly. It's a huge point because these things, while they are volume dependent to a degree, that once they're set, if you're sitting at 85 and 52, you're not going down if you don't play any more guys. You're sitting there. You lose every other category, but it does take the top off some of those areas. Same thing goes if you're in a 9-category league with turnovers. Someone who's not playing anymore, their turnovers stay at the bottom, and you can't get negative turnovers to catch up to them in those ways. So that's something you pay attention to. We're not doing turnovers in this draft at the moment. We're looking at doing an 8-category draft, as I mentioned. Now, what I want to do is, again, for you guys watching on the video, I'm going to bring up the draft tracker screen up on the screen so you can have a look just how I set it up for a rotisserie draft. Now, up here, you can see it says projected standings. There's a box there I tick that says Roto standings, so that after each round of the draft, it tells me sort of where I'm positioned in the standings based on our projected stats. Over here in the display columns area, there's a column that says draft help. Because I'm drafting on Yahoo, I want to get this Yahoo ADP up there and the Yahoo O rank, because it's going to influence how people make their decisions during the draft. They look at those ranks. That's the order that these players are presented on Yahoo as well. So it's good to have an idea. Now, I'm not drafting off those necessarily, but I like to have an idea of how others are viewing it and how others are looking at these players and what order they should be taking them in. Up the top here, you can see this Yahoo League ID. When you go onto the Yahoo page in the URL, you'll see that 5-digit number. You type that in, you push this authorize Yahoo, it'll ask you to enter some password details, and that enables our draft tracker to connect directly with Yahoo, import all the draft selections over, and give you these projected standings, give you your team analysis. When we go down to the group of players here, which you can see all the players' names. Columns that I like to look at, I like to look at the value column. I like to look at the dynamic value column, because that changes based on who gets picked beforehand. So when points start running off the board, players who have got higher in the points category, their value becomes more rare and more scarce, so they become, in dynamic value is the same as regular value at the moment because we haven't drafted anyone. But as it changes, you'll see maybe I need to grab this guy 10 spots earlier because what he gives me is really hard to find now. So that's something I use. Positional value is obviously to do with, James Harden is listed as a shooting guard because shooting guards are harder to find, so that makes him more valuable getting a good shooting guard. Now, Curry has dual eligibility because shooting guard is the thinner position. He's also listed in his positional value as a shooting guard because you can put him in that shooting guard spot, and that works in your benefit there. So that, again, changes as things go on through the draft as to how valuable this position is, how valuable this player's skill set is, and statistical profile is. So you've got those three columns: value, dynamic value, positional value, and then I look at the Yahoo ADP, the Yahoo O rank, then plus our ranks over there. And then once I start drafting, you'll see my team appear on here. And because it's a rotisserie league, when I have some areas climbing into the white or the red zones, I want to bring them back up. Now, if that was head-to-head, if they were red, I'd be punting those categories. But because it's rotisserie, I want to get them all into a pale, at least pale shade of green. So I want to concentrate on getting those numbers back up. Plus, I'll look at the categorical scarcities as well, thinking, okay, maybe my points are looking really bright green. I've got a lot of points, but in the scarcity area, which again, if I can bring that up on the screen now, you can see what it looks like now. With the points, Kyle, they're the hardest to get after the first few rounds, aren't they? I don't know if you're still there, Kyle. No.
Oh, sorry. Hanging up. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. I'll go back to it. So you can see this categorical scarcity here at the moment because no one's off the board. The hardest category to get is free throw percentage, 3-pointers and assists. But once Harden, Curry, Westbrook, Durant come off the board, that column there where it says points and it's got 0.43 and it's in light green, that'll become like negative 1.5 and it'll be red, and it becomes really tough to get your points that way. So that's another area. So these are all the things I look at: value, dynamic value, positional value, the ranks, plus the categorical scarcity for me to make my selections. Kyle, how are you? What pick have you got, actually?
I've got pick 11.
I got pick 3. We're still waiting on 3 people to join this draft. They better join this draft. As I said, I sent them an email saying that I will mock them mercilessly, and I said I was joking, but I'm probably not. So join the draft, or else you're going to be copping some all in jest verbal abuse. Nice, Rilla, Tom, and Spencer. Get your collective asses in here.
So when you were asking for me a second ago, I had forgotten to plug in to my Wi-Fi, or rather than using Wi-Fi, I was wanting to plug into my Ethernet. So that's where I was. That's why I was away from here and was so abrupt in my response.
Oh yeah, you got to do what you got to do, Kyle. All right, so
it needed to be done.
I get a lot of questions sent to me for people who are drafting in the 6 to 12 or 13 range, and they go, who do I take? Now, you're going to be in that range today. To me, all these guys are significantly bunched together. They're really close. At pick 11, say the 11th guy on Yahoo's expert rank list here is LeBron James, but yeah, you might not get LeBron. Who are you hoping you get at pick 11?
I mean, look, it's not going to happen with the group of people we have, but you hope that something dumb happens, like Kawhi Leonard drops to you. Right now, Giannis isn't going to drop to me. I'm probably not going to get him. I'm looking really hard at Kyrie Irving, potentially taking him there because I love his field goal percentage. I love his percentages in general. I'm hoping a high percentage big man drops to me. It's not going to happen. Maybe I can get DeMarcus there just because he always goes late on Yahoo.
You never
I would
know.
even consider
Davis.
I know
Davis could drop. There's lots of forums and that. I'm not touching Davis until the second round. And I go, cool. That's wrong, especially in a roto setting. But you never know. He might slip at 211.
That's just it. There's a stack of guys who I love for their percentages really early in the draft, but I just don't know if any of them are going to drop to 11. And then you have to kind of hem and haw over whether or not you want to take some guys substandard free throw percentage or another guy's substandard field goal percentage, and and I don't know exactly which way I'm going to go until it gets there. I'm just going to keep praying for somebody good to drop to me.
I assume in a Roto league, you have more guys that are sort of completely off your draft board than what you do in head-to-head. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. I'm not taking Paul George for the most part because I think that he takes too many field goal attempts at too low of an efficiency percentage for me to try to make that up in a rotisserie league. I'm not going to take Damian Lillard for his low field goal percentage. I'm not going to take Dwight Howard. I'm not going to take Andre Drummond. I'm not going to take DeAndre Jordan. I'm not going to take Clint Capella. These guys are just off my draft board because I'm not punting anything in a rotisserie draft. I'm trying to get all of my stats good, and especially the percentages as I detailed earlier.
Now that's a thing that seems to be developing a little bit at the moment. The draft's 10 seconds away from starting. I might just pause the draft for 1 second so I can just finish this conversation. Punting in rotisserie leagues, it's something that's coming up a little bit more. Now we're both not really into it in a standard sort of a setting. But in a deeper league format, yeah, we're more happy to punt in a rotisserie form, but not in this sort of thing. We're not looking at punting in this league, are we?
No, I'm not. I don't think that if I completely gave up on free throw percentage and went after some of those big men that we were just talking about, Drummond, Dwight Howard, if that happened, then you're going to have to be so awesome, so dominant in every single other category that you just don't give yourself any leeway to, I don't know, suffer an injury in one category and then decide that you're going to go a little harder at another one. I want more flexibility to my team in a rotisserie draft because I'm going after every category.
It's my pick
I don't know how
now.
to argue it better than that.
1 sec, it's my pick now. I'm just going to go to the draft tracker screen, push this refresh from Yahoo to see who's come off the board and see how my team looks now. So Harden's gone, Westbrook has gone, and I'm left with the choice between Curry and Durant. Really, to me, it's pretty straightforward that I'm going to take Steph Curry here. He's who I want, especially with his percentages, as we've talked about in rotisserie. So he is going to be the guy that I'm going to pick at this spot, Kyle. Look, I know there are concerns with the addition of Durant, but I tweeted out yesterday the top 12 preseason players in per 36-minute value, and Curry, Durant, and Clay were all inside the top 10, or top 12, sorry. And that percentage is so key with him. Even if he does score 4 less points per game, I'm getting 50 and over 90 as my field goal and free throw percentage. So that's significantly valuable there as well. Plus, he's really good at steals, 6 assists, points, 4.5, 5 threes a game. So it's going to be pretty interesting in that sort of a sense.
You can't go. There's so many. A lot of times people will email us or send us a message, ask us just over Twitter or whatever. Who would you take in this spot? And there's a lot of good answers. There's not necessarily one good pick in the first half of the first round. There's so many good guys who could be potential number ones that. Some part of me just says take the guy you like in certain respects. Obviously, in a rotisserie league where you care about percentages, there's a good argument that Curry should have been taken number 1 overall instead of number 3 where you got him.
Yeah, so Westbrook went at number 2. Now, he's a significant drain in field goal percentage. Harden is as well, but not to the degree that Westbrook is. Westbrook's probably double the impact in that category. So, would you have taken Curry at 1 had you had that opportunity?
I would have probably either taken Curry or Durant or Karl Anthony Towns. I love the idea of getting a big man with Towns' percentages. I guess you could make the same argument for Curry or Durant as well, though. Just having their percentages at their positions really is it's a nice thing to have in Roto.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Durant's here gone at number 4, and that should be the top 4 in most head-to-head leagues, and as you mentioned, you can consider Karl Anthony Towns. And now, number 5, Kawhi Leonard went with that pick. Now, we're still missing, Tom is not here. Unfortunately, Tom, come on, man. You signed up for the draft and you didn't turn up, and Spencer's not here. Not good, guys. Regardless, we've got the 2 auto drafters, but we can talk enough about this now. Towns has gone at 6 here. Giannis Antetokounmpo has gone at 7. Matt Smith is on the board at pick 8. I think Matt's going to take Chris Paul if I had to guess. How do you view him? Any idea of which way he'd lean?
I don't know which way Matt's going to go here with this, but I mean Chris Paul's a good pick at this point, so he's always awesome in Roto. He's been one of the best Roto players for several years.
Yep, exactly. And because of his ability to get you 10 assists, and like we talked about with Curry, these guys put up great percentages. Like, he's a 47% field goal guy. He's a huge free throw percentage guy. Yeah, look, he's getting a little bit older, but what he does is really useful. Now, Matt's still debating his selection. We had Giannis go at 7. Some people, Kyle, were coming to us and saying, we're worried about Giannis's form in the preseason. He's not looking good. How risky is this pick? Whoa! Matt just went Hassan Whiteside at pick 8, so I'm sure.
What a jerk!
Is that who you wanted? How good's Hassan Whiteside?
I was really
looks,
getting excited about possibly getting Hassan.
Man, he looks so good.
People still are underrating him, and I love it.
Man.
Matt is not, though.
No. Look, he's in the conversation to me at pick 6. That's how excited I am about him.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's. You've been thrown off, Kyle. Now this you could have a choice between Anthony Davis, Chris Paul, LeBron James here at this point, plus DeMarcus Cousins is another option here. Davis just went there at pick 9, which is a significant slide for Anthony Davis. It's worse than where he finished last season, and people think he's going to be worse than last season. I think that he had that ankle injury. Now, yeah, look, it might cost him a game at the start of the season, but it's not going to cost him months of action. I'm not concerned really about Anthony Davis at this point. You're on the board here, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't love my options right now.
Yeah, a lot of you guys that you would have taken are gone. You're not taking Paul George, obviously.
No, I hate Paul George.
We had this conversation the other day. I believe it was off air, but yeah, we're not massive Paul George fans.
Oh jeez. So I'm like, I feel like I'm backed into a corner to picking LeBron James or DeMarcus Cousins. And I know that sounds stupid. Like, why wouldn't you want either of those guys? Oh man.
If it was me, I would take LeBron here, especially in a roto setting. Yeah, his free throw percentage isn't great, but I like what he gives me for field goal percentage. And if he misses a couple of games here and there, it's not as big of a deal in this sort of a setting.
It's just so boring.
What do you? So you ended up taking LeBron. So what I'm going to do in a second is, after Brian, who's the fantasy basketball writer over at Today's Fast Breaker and writes over at Basketball Breakdown as well, B-Ball Breakdown, after he makes his first pick here, I'll switch back over to the draft tracker and we can have a look how the projected standings work, because they only update after the end of each round, after everyone's taken one pick. Okay, so I'll bring that up now. If I push this refresh from Yahoo button, everyone's first picks will be off the board. We'll bring that up on the screen. It's just, my internet's powered by a hamster in a wheel here at the moment, so everything's going pretty slowly. So let's see how. Okay, so it's loading up for you now. Okay, so here we go. Number 1 team is me. Oh wow, that's great. Thanks Yahoo and Basketball Monster projected standings. I'm sitting there at number 1. But if we have a look over here, now that categorical scarcity points, instead of being positive 0.7, they're negative 2.27 in their value. So they are by far the hardest category to get now. And if you don't get points in these first few rounds, Kyle, you're just not going to be competitive in that area, are you?
No, generally not. There are some guys you can target in the 4th, 5th, 6th round that
not many,
maybe
though.
Even 7th round. But yeah, exactly. There's not many. You're talking about targeting the guys that were considered breakout players this year, and there's going to be a lot of people going after those players.
And the thing is, it's not an auction situation. We're in a snake draft, so someone could easily, if you're in an auction draft, you go, I need points. I might have to spend $5 more because I need to get these points. In a snake draft, someone decides they're going to take him 3 picks ahead of you. Well, you're shit out of luck. You can't do anything with it. You can't make that move to say, I really need to get this guy. So it is important that you get points, and I'll probably sacrifice a couple of other categories here early on to make sure I get enough points to really, points and percentages early to make sure I'm really insulated there, get my threes later, get my rebounds later. Getting a high efficiency big man is also pretty key at this early point, because there's not a huge amount of those guys around. I'll bring it back over to the Yahoo draft window now. Who did you pick with your second pick? Is that you picking Porzingis, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it was. I went with Porzingis. He wasn't going to come back to me in the third round, and when I'm looking at my options there, I was either going to pick Porzingis or I was going to pick Kyrie Irving or I was going to pick Nikola Jokic, and I wanted the scoring that I knew I was going to get from Kristaps, and I trust him to potentially get a better field goal percentage, which if he does, then I'll be fine with him at that value.
So we went after you picked LeBron at 11, Paul George at 12, DeMarcus Cousins at 13. You picked Porzingis at 14, Lillard 15, Wall 16, Oladipo 17, Millsap 18, Jim Butler went at 19, and Kyle Lowry has gone at 20. So I'm one pick away from myself. Anything out of those picks that makes you go, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that sort of selection?
I'm worried about Kyle Lowry's field goal percentage in a rotisserie league. Paul Millsap, he's back in action, so I'm not too worried about him now. Same for Damian Lillard. I'm worried about his field goal percentage. You could say this similar for John Wall. He doesn't get the greatest field goal percentage either. So I'm gonna obsess about the percentages, especially early in the draft, because you can't get a lot of good percentages guys later in the draft.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now Draymond Green just went at pick 21 here, so I'm gonna go back to the draft tracker, push refresh from Yahoo, take the guys off the board who for some reason the draft tracker is not hiding these guys, it's just ticking them, but regardless I can see who's available, and have a look at who I need to get here. So what I need to do with Curry, I need to make sure I get blocks. Yeah, so you picking Porzingis there was great for you because you get those blocks. Now, I might be a little bit, maybe not controversial here, but I think I might take someone like Brook Lopez, who's good at both percentages, who's going to score 20 points a game, but can also give me 2 blocks a game. And again, I just want to make sure I get high efficiency blocks at this point, and scoring, and Lopez gets that covered for me. So if I just type his name into here, again, I don't know why everything is going so slowly. All right, I'm going to take Brook Lopez here. Again, people will say it's early, but I really prioritize what he can give me at this point. How much do you hate that pick?
The Brook Lopez one? Did that just get taken on you, or was that yours?
I picked it, yeah, at 22.
I love that pick. He's in my queue. I was planning on taking him with my next pick. I was hoping he'd drop, but knowing that I'm in a draft with you, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, like I love pairing. If I've got a top pick in the first round of a couple, first top 3 pick, I love Lopez in the second bit pick to get 2 blocks, to get 20 points, to get 50 and 80 as percentages. And he's taking threes now in preseason, which might drop his field goal percentage down a little bit, but I still think he's going to be pretty impressive. All right, so after we had Kyrie go, which I'm sure is not impressive for you, Al Horford, Kemba Walker. So let's go back to the draft tracker and refresh the standings now to see how it looks after 2 rounds, because that's 2 rounds done. You can probably go make yourself a cup of tea while this internet loads back up. It's taking its time. What's going on? Why is this so slow? I need to get something faster here. Oh, it's back to my pick already. Didn't realize. Okay, so I'm looking at being second at the moment next to Josh's team. So what do I need? I look at my summary of players. I'm down on assists. I probably do need a point guard here. If everything would actually work well, that'd be fantastic for me. There's not many point guards around at this point, though, that I'm all that keen on. So this makes it a bit of a tough decision. Let's see who I go for. Maybe I take... I know we're both not fans of Isaiah Thomas, so I think I'm going to leave him alone. What I might do is I think I'm going to... And this is a guy I've never been a big fan of, especially in head-to-head formats. And I was going to say it's Lamarcus Aldridge, but he just got picked, so I'm not picking him. I'm going to take Carmelo Anthony. Again, I want points. He gives me rebounds, and these are not sexy picks by any stretch of the imagination, but I want his points, and I've taken him. I'm not feeling all that happy about it. I would have liked Aldridge there, but unfortunately, you can't always get what you want, Kyle.
That is true, Josh.
So let's go back to the draft window there. So whoever picked that guy in front of me, not impressed picking Aldridge in front of me. Now, we are both looking at targeting point guards aggressively in rounds 4, 5, and 6, aren't we?
Yeah, I really like the Goran Dragic, the D'Angelo Russell guys that are going to be there, potentially Mike Conley, and then I'm still going to be looking at Jeremy Lin a little bit later in your draft. All those guys who some of them have a good field goal percentage right now. Other ones just have the potential to put up a better field goal percentage than what they've had in the past. So I'm worth taking the risk on them.
Yep, absolutely. Where are we at with the I'm just trying to fix up this draft tracker so that the players actually... Oh, Spencer's joined. Welcome, Spencer. It's good to have you here after the first 3 rounds. Good to have you on board. At least I think that leaves us with just Tom, who's not here. So, Tom, you are letting the team down significantly. I'm trying to refix this draft tracker now. So Bledsoe went. We're up to Cheez-It. It's his pick now. Nikola Jokic is still on the board. He was obviously the flavour of everything for a while, and now people are legitimately asking me the question, Kyle, is Yusuf Nurkic going to put up a better season than Nikola Jokic? How would you respond to that question?
Maybe, but does it matter? They're both going to be super awesome. Yep,
that's a fair enough. Nurkic is going to be great, but we can talk about what he's done, but if you look back to the last Nuggets game, I think Jokic had a double-double in 23 minutes and had steals and blocks and assists as well. So Nurkic is putting up numbers. Jokic is still putting up the numbers. He's just not being as flashy, and that's basically what his game is. It's not flashy, is it? He just accumulates enough numbers to be really valuable. Now, I don't like picking him at where Yahoo's got him ranked in that 30 range. Or sometimes you have to go into the second round, which is just not something that I'm all that interested in. But if you can get him, if people are looking at what Nurkic has done and thinking that's going to make Jokic slide, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm definitely keeping Yusuf Nurkic in my mind in all my drafts right now, including my rotisserie drafts, because there's the potential for him to do better in his percentages than what he's done in the past. Now that we're 2 years removed from that, essentially. So, look, they're both going to be awesome. The Nuggets are committed to these guys. They're saying that everything looks good. The Twin Towers lineup looked good against Golden State of all teams. So there's really no issues with it or worries about it anymore, I don't think. And both of them should be awesome.
I said this the other day. Nurkic will be the center. Jokic will be the power forward. But in terms of backup center, there is only one option, and it's Jokic. So whenever Nurkic isn't on the floor, Jokic is going to play the 5. They're going to play about 8 to 10 minutes together. And Jokic will get his 30 minutes, playing 10 minutes at power forward, 20 minutes at backup center. Nurkic will play his 28 minutes at the starting center. And I think you're pretty much done with that. You can get 28 out of Nurkic, you can get 30 out of Jokic in that sort of a situation. Fareed is not going to play more than 24 minutes. Darrell Arthur's knee is done. The guy you worry about a little bit is Juancho Hernan-Gomez, who's been putting up significant numbers. He's looked awesome. I think he's going to be a great power forward for this team in the future. I had Kevin Pelton on the show the other day. He's big into Hernan-Gomez as well, and he's a guy that could easily leapfrog Arthur and even Fareed by the end of this season. So he's a potential concern, but I don't see any issues with the Nurkic-Jokic front court at this point now. Pick 35, Kyle. I know that you're probably sitting there with no pants on after this selection. Miles Turner. Why are you so big on Turner?
He's got his potential in both percentages are great. He's going to put up great blocks numbers. He should take 3-pointers eventually. I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but we saw him hit one in their last preseason game. There's just nothing not to like about Lamarcus Aldridge. Miles Turner, because he is Lamarcus Aldridge, but he actually gets defensive stats in bulk.
Yeah, look, he could block 2.5 shots a game, and it wouldn't be crazy. Now, I've updated the standings over on the draft tracker, which you can see on the video. Josh is sitting number 1. That's not me. Nice Rilla is at 2, and I am sitting at 3 at the moment. Now, I look at my team, and everything versus top players is green. So that's where I want it to be. But I look at blocks, they're the lowest. My points are sitting significantly high. I'm averaging 24 points per game across my 3 players that I've chosen so far. So that's important for me there, but I need to make sure I'm getting some rebounds and blocks. As you can see, blocks are not as easy to get as, say, field goal percentage, as steals and rebounds at the moment. They're harder to get than threes as well. The hardest thing we can look for at the moment is points and assists, so that's sort of where we need to be looking. I need to try and make sure I get some blocks here now. Klay Thompson went at 36 here. Nick Batum went at 37. Let's look back at the results of the other picks that I missed while I was blabbering on. So Aldridge went, then I took Melo, Eric Bledsoe, Nikola Jokic, Serge Ibaka at 30. Now, Ibaka almost pulled down 20 rebounds the other day. I'll talk about him in a sec. McCollum at 31, Isaiah Thomas 32, Griffin 33, Gobert 34, Turner 35, Klay Thompson 36, Batum 37, and Kyle, you went with D'Angelo Russell at 38. What did we make of Ibaka's big rebounding game? And I think that's the right spot for Russell, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to read too much into the Ibaka rebounding game unless we see it see it duplicated. I'll say that. It's important to, whenever you look at these preseason stats, you got to go watch the video to back it up, because Willie Cauley-Stein's 12-point game, that was 10 of those points were really bad defense from the Lakers, where they just left him completely open underneath the basket. And the final 2 points were a fast break bucket he got over Jordan Clarkson, who I know is a really scary rim defender, but it is what it is.
I think Clarkson blocked 3 shots last season for the entire season. So, yeah, he's not a really intimidating presence there. But we're both not big Willie Cauley-Stein fans. We'll talk about him a little bit later. But if Costa Koufos is starting over him, I can't see him getting enough minutes to really be a standard league sort of player. So, yeah, he had 12 points. But I'm definitely not on board with Cauley-Stein. And we really haven't been on board with him since his rookie season, have we?
No, he's... They have DeMarcus Cousins there. Now they have Costa Koufos there. They've always had too much going on where Willie Cauley-Stein would get minutes. It's been hard to see a path to relevancy for him in standard fantasy leagues. We've seen a couple of times where he's come out and gotten some good minutes and put up some decent production across the board, but I don't know if he's more than a role player in this league. And I mean, his ceiling might be a B-list Tyson Chandler if he can get some team to give him a very, very narrow kind of role on the team where it just says, go out there, play defense, do this, protect the rim, and don't try to do anything else.
Yep, I'm with you. He's a good defender, but there's a lot of other holes in his game that need to be worked on before I'm overly sold on him. Now, Wiggins went at pick 40 here. Ravishing Rick Rubio went at 41, and Marc Gasol went at 42. I want to talk to you a bit about Gasol, Kyle. We spoke about that before we went on air. He's taking 3-pointers at a significant rate, and Fizdale is comparing him to Chris Bosh, saying, I forced Chris Bosh to take 3-pointers. He listened to me, and now look where he is. I'm doing the same thing with Marc Gasol. So, how much do we buy into the preseason 3-point shooting of Marc Gasol?
We've seen news reports that Fizdale said he wants Marc Gasol taking at least four 3-pointers a game, three-point attempts. And the thing is, Marc Gasol's a good enough shooter. He's got good enough touch. He's always been a guy who's kind of stretched out close to the 3-point line, so it's not that shocking to see him step out and be able to hit that shot now that he's being asked to do that by his coach. And Marc Gasol is also the kind of guy who, if his coach asks him to do something, he's going to go do it. So I'm expecting at least 4 3-point attempts from Marc Gasol every single game this season right now, and there's no reason he can't hit it at a good enough clip. Yeah,
you expect low to mid-30s in his conversion rate. Does he get to 1 3-point made a game? There's a real chance that he does. We haven't quite projected him at that level yet, because last season we saw a number of big men increase their 3-point rate. Some of them carried it over to the regular season. Some of them didn't do it at all. So Pau Gasol and Brook Lopez both, took a lot of threes in preseason, didn't do it in the regular season. Al Horford, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, they were the same through preseason and regular season. So it's hard to know exactly which way it's going to go there, but you definitely have to look at it. And if we're putting odds on it, I would say you're looking at least 75% chance that he does start taking threes on a really regular basis and start hitting them pretty consistently. Now, it is my pick. Now, who did Nice Zilla take? He took Jonas Valanciunas, which is exactly who I wanted here, to get my rebounding up, to get some block numbers up, and now I have to reassess my life in general. I think I'm going to take... I think Gorgie Dieng might be my pick here. We know that Tom Thibodeau has got a huge hard-on for Nemanja Bjelica at the moment, but Dieng is going to play... He's going to have to play 30 minutes or so. Now, Bjelica's fine, but he does have some defensive issues. He can stretch the floor, but I'm convinced that Dieng can stretch the floor as well. Dieng doesn't need 35 minutes to be a top 50 player. Even if he gets just 29, I think that he provides enough value here for me with blocking shots. Spencer's left the draft. Well, thanks for coming, Spencer, for the 2 rounds. I'm taking Gorgie Dieng there. Again, it's what I needed to get my block numbers up, get some defensive numbers, and again, Kyle, one of those big men who not only doesn't hurt you in percentages, but actively helps you in both percentage categories. He can be an 85% free throw shooter. So let's go back to look at my team now on the draft tracker. I've added Dieng onto it now. If we look at my versus top players section here, everything is in green. The lowest Z score I've got is assists at 1.13. And now that I've made 4 picks, I want to get a point guard in this next draft. In this next round. I've got no doubt I need to get myself a point guard here. I've boosted up some field goal percentage, So I'm pretty not happy. Well, here we go. It's my pick now. Evan Fournier went at pick 50. So that's going to leave me one of my boys here. Goran Dragic is available unless he went and I missed it, which he probably did. Someone picked DeAndre Jordan, so that's interesting.
Dragic is still available.
Well, Dragic is going to be my guy here. I could pick Dennis Schroeder, but it is... And I was going to say it's very hard to go past him, and by very hard, it's impossible. I have to take him here. He's looked great in Miami. He's scoring, he's passing. This is exactly what I want here. Nice Realist says no-brainer pick here. I assume you're talking about my pick of Dragic, mate, because
yeah, that was a great value too, considering he was right, and it seemed like he was sitting right at the top of the queue there for a little bit too, which is just like I love it when people are completely oblivious to how great a player is just sitting there. But whatever, I don't mean that any slight to anybody else in the draft. It's just I really like Dragic.
Yeah, he's going to have it. And again, it's always important to look at context. You could look at his numbers last season, and you might have owned him last season. And Goran Dragic, mate, killed me. He was terrible. I wanted to drop him. Oh, he was ranked outside the 80s. He did nothing. Cool. There's no Joe Johnson, no Luol Deng, no Dwayne Wade, no Chris Bosh. Who do you think's touching the ball every time down the court? It's going to be him, and it's going to be him passing to Whiteside. And that's it. So it's not a matter of, burn me last year, do not draft, never touch him again. Because if you have that attitude, you're going to lose nearly every single time. And I don't know if that contributed to me getting him at that pick, but I'm pretty happy with it. Now
you're getting razzed in the draft chatter too. Somebody after you took Dragic, somebody commented who, and then the next guy commented Dragic LOL.
I think the who was because he said it's a no-brainer pick here, and he says who is the no-brainer. And I think it's Dragic, which I agree. Now Devin Booker just went at 52. So what do we make of Devin Booker going at 52?
I'm fine with it. You're a little bit worried about his field goal percentage this season because he's going to take a lot of shots, and even if he's only hitting 45%, that's a little bit off where you maybe want to be targeting. So I'd want to make sure I had some better field goal percentage guys surrounding him if I took him.
Yep. He's looked awesome in preseason though. He's handling the ball. He looks like he's the number one option on the team. I was a little bit concerned with him heading into the season how he'd work with Bledsoe and Knight because he hadn't seen it before, but he's still getting his assists. His steal rate is through the roof, and I don't imagine him to average 2 steals a game, which is what he's doing at the moment. So I would imagine that comes down, but he's looked awesome so far. So Booker went at 52. Jeff Teague's gone at 53. Ariza's gone at 54, Pau Gasol at 55, and my boy Schroeder has gone at 56. You got 2 picks away from you, Kyle. Who are you looking at here with your selection?
Oh, man. Oh, I might get funky.
I would have thought you got funky by going Turner and Russell with round 3 and 4. You're going to go funkier than that.
Well, I don't think that's reaching for those guys at this point because that's like their floor given the expected role that we see them having. I'm looking at Aaron Gordon. I'm looking at Jabari Parker. Look, man, it's a long time before it comes back to me. So you look at the other options at the big man positions right now. And I'm thinking about maybe taking Nurkic here. So, yeah, I'm thinking about that too.
Someone just took Jeremy Lin at pick 57, which I was definitely looking at him with my 6th-round pick, which really pisses me off that he's gone now. It's a great pick. I think he can exceed that value, but it pisses me off that I didn't get to make it.
Man, the good point guards are kind of gone now.
This is what we talk about, is that point guards fly off the board. There's a great bunch of them in these rounds 4, 5, and 6. Are you taking Russell in round 4? You wanted to get one of these guys, and that'll enabled you maybe an opportunity to grab a second one if you could. But these guys are switched on in this draft. They made some pretty nice selections there. Spencer's back, so I take back anything I said about you before. So, no, he's not. He's gone. Spencer, come on, man. We're waiting for your pick to go down. So that's an annoying pick. Now, Kyle, I'll move forward a bit because if people are looking at the draft tracker page, you can see that Drew Holiday is right up the top. Now, in a rotisserie setting, it's easier to draft Holiday than it is in, say, a daily changes head-to-head, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it makes it a little bit more intriguing wanting to take him, put him on your bench, and just wait for him to come back. because you're going to, especially in right now, I feel like there's probably going to be somebody available off the wire after we get done with this draft that I can add who's going to be better than just a replacement level player.
Well, even if you take Tim Frazier with your last pick, you're made up for Drew's value in, or not quite, but his assist numbers at least in the first couple of weeks, 6 weeks of the season, and then you bring Holiday off the bench, and then you can drop Frazier after that. So that's a great. I'm not a big handcuff guy in fantasy basketball, but if you draft Drew at 80 and then you draft Frazier at 120, I think you're pretty set in a rotisserie format. Now is that you taking Nurkic at 59? Yep. Tobias Harris went at 58, Nurkic 59, Jay Crowder at 60, and Marcin Gortat at 61. Now, I've been really down on Gortat this season, but Jan Mahimi's out for 6 weeks, so that bumps Gortat's value up a bit.
Hey, Josh, you just talked about taking Holiday around like 80 or something. The thing is, like, there's no other good point guards right now, though.
Yeah, that's true. You could look. So, would you consider him with your next pick then, which is at the end of round 7, about 80?
I just took him.
Oh well, there you go. He's done. So you just sit him on your bench. It's not a situation where you're going to have 0 in your lineup. Your 11th round guy just becomes an active player for you.
I feel dumb having taken him that early though, because it was too much of a risk. But there are no other point guards available right now that are even comparable to him. I mean, Reggie Jackson, but he's going to miss a month of the season too. Oh man!
And Reggie Jackson's not as good as Drew Holiday though. He's not even really close to me in terms of overall output, especially with Van Gundy as his coach.
Agreed.
In the other guys you got, Derrick Rose, killer in Roto field goal percentage. Darren Williams, same. Emmanuel Mudiay, really tough to draft in a rotisserie setting. Alfred Payton, same sort of story. These are the point guards that are left over now. Not many that should be overly appealing to you at this point. Is DeMar DeRozan still available? What's going on? Why is DeMar DeRozan still here at pick? We're at 63. Someone needs to get on Spencer. I know you're not here, but you need to take DeMar DeRozan here. That his free throw value is significant in a Roto league.
Do you think that Rajon Rondo's free throw percentage is just kind of like who cares because there's not a bulk of attempts or not a lot of attempts?
Yeah, it's not that. Look, if you've got DeRozan on your team, then you easily cover Rondo's free throw percentage. Now, his free throw percentage isn't. If you're a borderline free throw percentage team, then it's not great. But if you've got a strong free throw percentage team, he's easily absorbable. So he's not a concern. So he is someone you could definitely take there. And Spencer took my advice, even though he's not there, by taking DeMar DeRozan at 63, which is a really good pick. And that's great value for DeRozan. As much as people might not like him, and he's a shot jacker and all that sort of stuff, but to get 7 attempts at 85% from the free throw line, it's significantly worth it at that point of the draft.
Didn't DeRozan have a really down season in field goal percentage 2 years ago, though? That kind of scared me off him. I know that he's got that great free throw percentage, but that always kind of scared me off him. I'm going to double-check that.
I guess it depends on where you're sitting. Like, my field goal percentage is pretty strong at the moment. I'm at 49% across my team, and I'm at 82% on my free throw percentage. So I'm sitting pretty okay in both those areas. And as we talked about, it was an area of focus for both of us in this draft, is making sure we get our percentages strong early. So every player I've picked has been the only really negatives I've had. Mello is a bit of a negative in field goal percentage, and Dragic is a minor negative in free throw percentage. But otherwise, everyone's looking pretty strong in that sort of a sense. Interesting on the draft tracker, and this is something, again, that we have debates about all the time, is that the team that is punting free throw percentage on projected standings is coming out second, and that's Mike's team. So he's got a really poor free throw percentage there, but he's coming out as the second team there. So that's it's interesting to see how that works out. Now, I always have maintained that you can finish in top 4 punting category, but it's really hard to win, and that's sort of how it's playing out at the moment. But it'll be interesting to see how Mike's team looks as we move forward. Now, Nikola Mirotic has gone, Enes Kanter has gone off the board, and Kanter's really valuable in this sort of a setting as well. Kyle, have you done your DeRozan research?
Yeah, he was pretty crap 2 years ago. He shot 41% from the field on 16.5 attempts a game, so it was really bad.
Yep, that's a significant negative impact there. So we'll see how that all works out. Excuse me for my coughing. Where are we? Now it's coming up to my pick again now. I'm a few picks away. Aaron Gordon's still on the board. He's definitely the guy that I'm going to be looking at here. The other player we look at here, if we talk about point guards, Kyle, is Darren Collison, who's sitting at the top of this list here. Zach LaVine's gone. Nerlens Noel, who I'm really worried about Nerlens Noel at the moment, and Jabari Parker went at 68. So I'm going to be debating here between Aaron Gordon and Darren Collison. The fact that just to get a point guard, it might be helpful here. Yeah, Collison's not all that exciting. He's not all that sexy, but maybe I grab him just because there's not many assists left.
His percentages are great, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm not a Darren Collison guy. I'm worried about the fact that the Kings have essentially not wanted him since before they signed him, and I don't trust that he's got the starting point guard job locked up for the whole season. I don't think Ty Lawson's going to take it from him. I just don't know if somebody else is going to get traded to the Kings and usurp his role. So I'm afraid to invest too much in Darren Collison, yet this is coming from the guy who just paid way too early for Drew Holiday. So
we look at the guys on the board at the top of my draft tracker here. Rudy Gay, Andre Drummond, Chandler Parsons, Aaron Gordon. They're my top 4 guys that are left. Parsons could be great value, but we don't know about his knee. I'm going to take Aaron Gordon if Rudy Gay just went. I'll say if Nice Rilla didn't pick him. So I'm going to take Aaron Gordon here. We're both pretty interested in Aaron Gordon this season, aren't we? Kylie's going to be a supreme rebounder, 1-1 threat, significant breakup potential. I've got him on a lot of teams. I've had people seriously come to me with questions saying, like, Aaron Gordon's available on my waiver wire. Should I grab him? And I was like, what's happening? Like, what's happening in your league where Aaron Gordon is on the waiver wire?
Some people think that Aaron Gordon's just the guy who won the dunk contest, and he's getting hyped up because of that. Instead of realizing that he's one of the best defensive players in the league already, and he has a lot of talent going to the rack. He can, whatever, man. There's tons of things to like about him, and there's reason to believe that with his mindset that he'll be able to find a jump shot and potentially be somebody who can even get a couple assists a game.
Some people also think that because they got Serge Ibaka, he's going to be coming off the bench. That these are people who may not have been keeping up with the news. It's not happening. He's the starting 3. He's going to get 30 minutes. I'd say at minimum. At this point, he'll play some backup 4 as well. I can't really see a situation where he doesn't get big minutes and be a considerably impactful player for this team. Yeah, Vogel obviously loves him at this point. I'm just waiting for Josh to make his pick here so I can have a look at the updated standings after round 6 to see where I'm sitting on this list and show you guys who are watching the video as well. But yeah, we're both big on Aaron Gordon, so I'm pretty happy to get him there at pick 70. I think that he's got significant upside to jump ahead of him now. We just saw Dwight Howard go at pick 70 ahead of Andre Drummond, which is really weird to me because if you're punting free throws, I would think that you want to take Drummond ahead of him, but maybe that's just me. Can you understand any rationale behind taking Howard ahead of Drummond?
No, maybe that guy lives in Atlanta or something, and he's just, he likes Dwight Howard more than he likes Drummond, but as far as expecting Dwight Howard to have a better statistical season than Drummond, I think that's unlikely.
Yep. Look, Howard has looked pretty good, though. Look, he's looked really good in Atlanta. Obviously, a different situation than where he found himself last season. But, yeah, if I'm reducing my free throw percentage by that much, I'll take Drummond there. No issue whatsoever. So Dirk has now gone at 73, almost coming back around to my pick. Now, if I look at my team in the draft tracker, I'm still a little bit low on blocks. So I need to get myself some blocks here. So who's a guy that I can look at? There's not many blockers that are around at this point. I could take Steve Adams, but he's not a big shot blocker. There's not many players really who are going to help contribute in that category that I'm comfortable taking at this point in the draft. I might have to just let that category slide for a little bit and grab someone else a little bit later in this. But we talked about Drew Holiday being a player who you drafted and you're obviously not happy with that pick there, but stashing injured players is a lot easier in Roto, so therefore I'm going to take Chandler Parsons with pick 75. He's got top 30 upside. We know that the Grizzlies are going to be launching it from 3. It's just a matter of whether he gets healthy, but he's going to have a significant role in this team as a ball handler, as a guy that gets assists, obviously, shoots threes, scores. And I can sit him on the bench as my 7th pick for a week or so if I need to. That could work out well for me. So I'm pretty happy to get Chandler Parsons there at that stage, but I do really need to concentrate on my block numbers pretty closely. How worried are you about Parsons at this point?
I'm essentially just letting everybody else take him. That's where I'm at with him. We don't know enough, and I hate the. We saw last year waiting for the Memphis Grizzlies to tell you anything injury wise.
Oh my god, nightmare.
Yeah, don't hold your breath.
Yeah, it's just not happening. Like, they just don't tell you anything. Like, Mike Conley, he's just got a sore Achilles. What's wrong with it? Oh, we're not. Yeah, it's just sore. Like, we have no idea what was actually wrong with Conley's Achilles actually last season. You think that was just a mild strain, but they never told you anything. Oh, he's just day to day. It's similar to the Pelicans, who are the most mysterious medical staff in the league. Them and Memphis are the two teams. You can't trust really anything that they say, because anything that happens could be completely false, and in 12 hours' time, it's the opposite happens. So that's something that you do need to pay attention to. Now, we're almost up on your pick again here, Kyle. Now, your boy Reggie Jackson is sitting there. Now, you've taken an injured point guard in Drew Holiday. Will you go back to the well again?
I doubt it. It's somewhat tempting, but I also don't want to get too far behind in my rotisserie league. And I don't want to give up the value that I can get off of somebody right now. Like, Avery Bradley's still there, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson's still there, Jordan Clarkson's there. Those are some really intriguing guys that are not injured. So I think I'd rather go that route. I'm not going to take on a second injured guy right now.
Yep, that's fair enough. And I've got the risk there with Parsons, so he's currently injured, not necessarily missing as much time, but there's a bit of a risk there. The name you mentioned is interesting. He's Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. He's a guy that I will look at for his rebounding, his shot blocking, and his steal numbers for me. He probably won't get back to me now that you've mentioned his name, but he is someone to look at. Avery Bradley's just gone here at pick 81, Otto Porter at 82. So where are you going at 83? Talk us through it.
Well, I think I've went after guys who rebound, get blocks, score points. So it's okay for me to go after Rondae Hollis-Jefferson right now to get my steals, and I think I need those on my team at the moment.
Well, thank you for taking my guy, but it was always going to happen. There is still some significant players who are left over on this list that once it gets back around to me. Let's see who Brian goes for at his selection here. Reggie Jackson's going to be gone pretty quickly. Maybe I do take a stab at him in round 9 if he comes back around, but unlikely, I'd say, at this point.
I felt I feel better about my Drew Holiday pick now, because Hollis-Jefferson was one of the guys I was looking at with that other pick, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, that's a good point, because if you still get the guy that you wanted at that spot around later, then whatever. You could say, oh, you know what, I actually took Hollis-Jefferson 1 round earlier, and I got Holiday 20 picks later.
Exactly.
You ended up with both guys that you wanted. Now, Nice Rilla has overtaken me in the projected standings. I'm going to need to do something about that. That's because my steals and blocks are right down, so I need to get those numbers back up, and he's overtaken me in those areas. So I need to make sure I can get some steals and blocks here with my next couple of picks. Again, it's not easy to do, though. That's the issue. It's finding efficient steals or especially blocks, guys. It's not easy to do.
Dude, you might have to reach for Joel Embiid or something, man.
Yeah, I think is it a reach though at pick 90 or whatever I'm going to pick? Is it an actual reach at this point? Given that the news came out today that Brett Brown's going, we're maybe not going to sit him at back-to-backs as much anymore.
Called it.
Yeah, you did. And Noel is injured. Okafor is injured. Embiid is an animal. Let's take him when it comes to my pick. Let's put him in my queue.
Talk yourself into it.
You talked me into it.
Well, dude, there's nobody.
No,
there's nobody else. Who? What? You're gonna draft Joakim Noah? Okay, that's not exciting, and he might kill your field goal percentage.
Exactly. Maybe look, the other guy I've got on and I'll tell you because this is a mock. Andrew Bogut's an interesting player to me. He shoots a poor free throw percentage, but he gets to the line never. He's looked awesome in preseason. He's going to have a bigger role. He's going to play more minutes, and he's a guy that can actually help me in blocks in a significant way. So maybe he's a guy that I look for, maybe round 9, maybe round 10 at this point with Bogut. So I'm pretty interested in getting him on board.
Totally.
Now, where is look, Embiid's probably not even going to make it to my pick.
Hey, man, I'm hoping Dwayne Wade falls to my next pick because he's good in Roto. He gets good percentages. Why not get a good field goal percentage out of a point guard, shooting guard eligible guy?
And as we've talked about plenty of times, it doesn't matter as much if he misses games in this format, does it? It matters, but not as much.
Right. It doesn't matter as much because in a head-to-head league, if a guy misses a game randomly during the course of a week, one game missed is a lot of stats. That's 20 points. That's 5 rebounds. That's 4 assists or whatever it might be from Dwayne Wade. But in a rotisserie league, you can just get another guy into your lineup on a different day because you have 82 game limits at each active position. So if you're smart about it, you can even replace it with somebody who's got a really good matchup on a given day.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, if he misses a couple of games, that's fine. Just get one of your bench guys in, play them in those spots without trying to go over your limit. But if he plays 40 games, it's a concern. If he plays 72, it's not a big deal. You're not at risk of losing one of those weekly head-to-head matchups in that situation. So these guys who play less games, it's not as big of a concern as we've mentioned plenty of times with taking guys who are potentially injured. Wes Matthews just went at pick 90 here. I feel like it's a little bit early. Rod Hood at 88, Thad Young at 89. I'm just not a believer here in Wes Matthews significantly bouncing back this season. Am I wrong?
I'm just in a wait and see kind of thing, and I don't think that Wes Matthews does enough across the board to entice me to put risk into the hope that he overcomes an Achilles injury that kills most people's careers.
Exactly, and that's exactly what it does. It ruins people in a significant way. His shooting was well off, like 8-9% worse than other seasons last season. So that's a real concern with him. And he's not a guy that goes out there and gets 9 assists a game or 10 rebounds or 2 blocks or anything like that. Like if he's not hitting threes at an efficient rate, then what is he? And he's being challenged by Seth Curry to a degree. He's being challenged by Justin Anderson. And by challenged, I mean that Rick Carlisle doesn't have to go, we've got no shooting guard depth, Wes, you need to play 36 minutes a night. They can say, well, Wes, you're not feeling it tonight. You can play 28 and Seth's got a hot hand. Let's get him in there. I need Justin Anderson's defense. Let's get him in there. So for once in a while, Carlisle has got some actually young options on the wing that he can plug in there if Matthews isn't feeling it, which might happen on more than one occasion.
Robin Lopez is a really good guy who's still left right now. So is George Hill. Yeah, those would be nice picks right now too.
I think that Robin Lopez. Now, I don't believe that Robin Lopez is going to get 30 minutes a game this season, but we talk about just getting 1.5 to 2 blocks at high efficiency is really valuable at this point. I'm still going to take your boy Joel Embiid here, just for shits and giggles, really. And
I mean, it's the point in the draft where it's worth picking his upside.
Absolutely worth it.
Because it's completely absurd and tremendous. Man,
how he is. I've said this before. He's in my top 5 guys to watch this season out of the entire league.
Totally. I had some friends over a little while ago, and I made them sit there and watch YouTube highlights of Joel Embiid. So
as you should.
Is it Joel or Joel?
Well, I feel
like jerk.
I believe it's Joel. It is such a weird pronunciation to me. I know he's Cameroonian, so maybe it's that. But even the pronunciation of Joel Anthony, why are you saying Joel? Nerlens Noel. Why is it Noel? Well, the guy that used to be a running back for West Virginia, Noel Devine. It's Noel. It's such a weird pronunciation, but it seems... I thought it was an American thing that all you guys said it that way, but if you're questioning it, maybe it's just something that... I don't know what I'm talking about.
I know guys named Joel.
Yeah, well, I don't know what it is then. Joel Embiid, Nerlens Noel. It sounds weird saying Joel Embiid now. It doesn't really fit well. I took him. Robin Lopez went at 93, so that, I guess, ended that discussion at that point. I didn't get to make that decision. So let's move back onto the draft tracker and see how it all plays out for my team. If I hit the refresh from Yahoo button, you'll see Embiid on my team. Now, his projected numbers aren't going to look that great because we're sort of being a little bit conservative with him. I have bumped his games played up today. So I think we had him playing about 55 games last season. Now we've got him at about, or not last season, had him at 55. I've got him at over 62 at the moment, which even then that's maybe being a little bit too conservative. Maybe he plays 65 or 66. So he is someone you can definitely have a little bit more confidence in at this point in the season with things going swimmingly at this point. I guess that's probably the best way of saying it, isn't it? There hasn't been any setbacks or anything like that. He's looked good. The other guys, the other centers aren't playing at all, so he's getting free run of things. Interesting to see how it all pans out for Joel. Is it my pick yet? Not quite. All right, let's see. Now, what do I need on my team here? My free throw percentage is a little bit of a concern. I've got really huge field goal percentage. I think that Monte Ellis looks good for me now. I'm not a Monte Ellis fan, but he gets a lot of steals, Kyle, and I am lacking in that category. So I'm going to take Monte Ellis here, and I think regardless of how much you don't like Monte Ellis, if I'm getting him at pick 99, I really can't see that going wrong for me.
No, and the steals are good. I mean, he's probably not going to take enough shots, field goal wise, to kill you there with his percentage.
My team's field goal percentage is sitting at 49% anyway, and if Embiid plays more games, it'll probably go ahead of that. So I'm not all that concerned about any sort of hit there. But you're right, his field goal attempts have taken a significant drop over the last couple of seasons. Especially last season as he moved from Dallas to Indiana, and Paul George hogs all the shots there. So I've got Ellis on my team. So my team's looking, again, everything in the summary versus top players is green, which is exactly how I want it to be. I've got a big green in points. I've got a big green in field goal percentage. My steals are right up, and my assists are up. The other categories I need to work on, I think I'm going to look to grab Bogut in the next one just to get my block numbers up. And I do need to get some free throw percentage somehow, but that's not an easy thing to do at this point in the draft, is it?
It is not.
Probably should have grabbed someone there earlier. But there's guys like JJ Redick around who can help on minimal attempts. Bob Cove is around. Robert Covington, he can help in that category too. Gary Harris is around. He's an excellent free throw shooter. So there's a few. Well, Covington's gone now, but there's a few guys around who can help me in that area. So Covington's gone at pick 100. Looking at a few of the names here, how bad's Harrison Barnes' preseason been, and what does that mean for you in terms of if you consider drafting him?
It's kind of made me just not target him at all anymore, because I was already skeptical that it would work out. He just wasn't a good per minute producer with the Golden State Warriors. He played plenty over there. I get it. He didn't get the touches on that team, but even when he did get, we didn't see enough. We didn't see enough in the steals. We didn't see enough in the blocks. We didn't see much in the assist category. He's not a great rebounder. Where is he going to improve? I think we're asking for this like across the board improvement from somebody who, and asking him to do things that he's just never done before. And I don't really expect that to happen.
Yep, exactly. It's tough, but look, at this point, we're outside the top 100. Again, it depends who else is around, but if it's him or Jahlil Okafor, I'll take Harrison Barnes over Okafor, because at least I know he's got a significant role. If it's him or Greg Monroe, I'll take Harrison Barnes over Monroe, because again, at least I know that he's going to be playing 30 plus minutes and something should come. He's never been a good defensive stats guy though, but 18 and 7 is not something that's a crazy expectation for him for scoring. Yeah, you'd want him to be a lot better than what he's been, but I'm still okay with grabbing him this early or this late, but my hopes for him to actually get a lot better than this, they're dwindling pretty quickly.
Right, and I guess I'm open to the idea that he's going to be so bad trying to force his shot that his field goal percentage takes some kind of like historic drop. I think that's a possibility. Yep. And that's kind of what we're seeing in the preseason a little bit, and that scares me off of him. But to be fair, this is it's perfect value. We're past pick 100 right now. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's worth taking a value shot at Harrison Barnes for all the reasons you said, us, mainly because he should play a crap ton of minutes.
The other thing that's interesting in Dallas is the play of the guy that's behind him, or not really behind, well, Justin Anderson, but in terms of the guy that's behind Dirk Nowitzki, where we thought Harrison Barnes might place him at the 4. Dwight Powell's looked really good, hasn't he?
He has. He's shown really good flashes over the last couple of years, so I think we've all kind of just been interested in seeing him play a little bit more, and it's really just trusting that that'll happen. I don't know if I can, because Rick Carlisle isn't afraid to play kind of marginal guys, big minutes, to the point that he spreads out the minutes so much that someone like Dwight Powell, who may be have more talent than a lot of the other guys in the rotation, he's still not going to necessarily play a stack more minutes than them.
No, we don't think that he's going to become a standard league guy, but in terms of maybe when Dirk retires, Bogut is going to be a free agent at the end of this season. Powell is showing enough, and he's showing that Carlisle has got trust in him, which is as important as anything really in Dallas to show that if Carlisle likes you or can rely upon you, you're going to get some significant runs. So in the next couple of years, as a dynasty target, I think that he's definitely flashing top 100 potential to me, probably even as early as next season, but most likely, say, 2 years away. They've invested in him, and he's got a fantasy-friendly game. He blocks shots, he can hit threes, he scores, he rebounds, he does quite a lot of stuff, and I've been really impressed with him for quite a while, but it's a sort of making me look less stupid now that it's actually showing him on the court doing this. Bogut just went. Who was that? I'm sure it was one of the teams that's not there just to really piss me off. No, it was Jonathan. Jonathan, I'm not impressed. All right, Kyle, it is back to you here at pick 107. Bogut at 105, Darren Williams at 106, and Kyle is taking who at 107? Maybe he's taking no one because he doesn't appear to be here. All right, that's fine. I'll keep talking.
Sorry, no.
Just concentrating.
Man, I'm sorry. I'm deep in thought.
Jay Martin asks the question, what happened to Nerlens Noel? Well, you're not listening to this live, but I'll answer it here. He hurt his groin after one of the shoot-arounds a couple of weeks ago. He apparently is not going to be, he's doubtful to be ready for opening night. Now, I don't know if this is him sooking, and if you don't know what sooking means, it means throwing a tantrum about the center situation, which it was not an injury where the team saw him get injured. He just came to them after a practice session and said, "Oh, yo guys, strained my groin," and they went, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, strained my groin." So that's a weird situation there. They didn't look at it and say, "Oh yeah, let's get the doctors over." He just walked off the court and said, "Strained my groin, guys," and they went, "Oh, cool." And then it's gone from there. So that's weird to me. I've got Brian Toporek here commenting that Sixers are calling it a groin strain. He's not likely to be ready. Now, Brian's a Sixers reporter as well, writes a lot of Sixers stuff too. So I don't think we're going to see Noel for the opener. That makes my Embiid pick look a lot sexier too. Who did you pick, Kyle, at 107? Because I was blabbering on too much there.
I took Markieff Morris, and then I took Marcus Smart with my next pick.
Now, I love Smart. A lot of people are... Whenever I say how much I love Smart, people just jump on me all the time. I don't see it. Yeah, Terry Rozier's taking his minutes. How's he going to get more playing time? Why are you in on Smart? Probably not as much as me, but why are you looking at grabbing Smart at this point?
Evan Turner is gone. Terry Rozier is, 6'1", 6'2", maybe?
Yep. If that.
He's going to back up Isaiah Thomas. He'll get plenty of minutes. It's not that the Celtics are afraid to go small necessarily, but Marcus Smart can play point guard, shooting guard, small forward. He's guarded Kristaps Porzingis before. They like having him out there on the court. They're calling Marcus Smart the team's sixth starter or whatever you want to say. And I guess I trust his game enough or his drive enough to believe that he should or he could improve in field goal percentage. If Marcus Smart improves there's really not any big holes in his game.
He has shot better in preseason so far. I'm big on him. He's not a point guard. I don't think he's not. He's a shooting guard. He's a small forward that handles the ball a little bit and can get 4 to 5 assists. But he's not a point guard. Now,
I mean, that's fair, but he does have point guard eligibility, which is super dope for fantasy.
Now, Brian has just put in here, the whole thing about Noel is weird. The Sixers were very deliberate in saying that Nerlens Noel reported the injury and not that they found it, which makes it think like they think he's faking it or making it worse than it really is. Exactly what I just suggested. There's a lot of weirdness happening there. Even if you look back to over the summer, all these pictures of Simmons and Embiid and Okafor working up, Noel was never there. He didn't join the team in Summer League. He wasn't around the team. He was never in this group of guys. I like Noel a lot, and I think he's their best option, aside from Embiid. But it feels almost definite that he's not going to be there for the entirety of this season.
Well, right before the injury happened, Noel said that he didn't want to, it wasn't going to work out. So, I mean, the writing seems on the wall that they have to get rid of him, especially with all the growth that we're seeing out of Embiid.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't see how he can stay around. And Brian's saying the exact same stuff that I was saying, that it just seems very convenient with that injury and the way that it was reported and the way that he's making out that the injury is what it is, and they didn't find it. There's a lot of weird stuff happening, and whether he gets traded, they've obviously got a massive opening at point guard with Jared Bayless not being ready to start the season and TJ McConnell not being good, and Spanish Chocolate, Sergio Rodriguez being their other option there. and no Simmons. Who knows what they do? They made a bid at J.R. Smith, which was an interesting use of their cap space, but Noel's not going to be there all season. Now, whether he goes to a better situation or a worse situation, who knows? But at this point, it's going to be hard, Kyle, to find a situation that's actually worse than where he currently is, I would say. Do you think that's accurate?
For Noel?
Yeah.
No, not there's any other team would be better than the crap situation he's got right now with the Sixers. Absolutely.
Yep.
But the thing is, you can actually go through and like run through what teams. Look, a team's probably not going to trade for him unless they have a spot for him and they have something big to give up for him. So you can run through, and you're not going to find that many situations that make sense unless we see somebody like Pat Riley construct, this big 15-player trade like we've seen in the past.
Yeah, that's the thing. Wherever he goes, I think his value jumps. Yeah, he might get 29 minutes a night, but he might get 32. And we don't know where that's going to be. But it's going to be hard to find another situation where you've got two other top three centers on the roster aside from himself. So that's going to make it hard for him to go to a worse situation at this point. Now, it should almost be it is my pick now, and I really don't like what's available here. For me, I need to really work on getting my free throw percentage up if I can. I need some rebounding numbers. There's not many options that are going to do that for me, though, unfortunately. You know who I might grab? I might grab Tim Mozgov. I don't like the contract that the Lakers gave Mozgov, but it's clear they're not playing Zubac at all. And Mozgov is going to be their center. He can be a relatively efficient big man. I think that he's going to be, if you dissociate yourself from the contract, I think that he's going to be relatively valuable this season, especially in a Roto League where he is quite efficient across the board. And that helps me with my block situation.
I'm surprised that you're willing to put any like spiritual collateral against Zubac playing potentially. They
can't even give him minutes in preseason. So I'm seeing the writing on the wall. I think it's wrong. He shouldn't be playing behind E. He shouldn't be playing behind Tariq Black. Although Black's 6'8", man, he's not a center. Zubac, whenever he gets on the court, even the announcers, like before a Lakers game last week, they're talking about keys to a preseason game. D'Angelo Russell's got to do this, and one of their points was, please let Zubac get minutes. Like, this is the official announcers for the team going, can you get this guy in the game? Like, he's good. We want to see it. Like, they're going against, not company line, so to speak, but they're saying, Walton, man, just play the guy. It's preseason. Just get him into the bloody lineup. And
what if
get
the
him
team's
to play.
hiding him?
For what?
What if
They've already got him
realize
under contract for 4 years.
I know, but then they what if they're trying to like trade Julius Randle for something, and every team that comes to them is just like, no, we're not interested. We just really want to talk about this Zubac kid.
Maybe,
like, what if they're trying to keep him hidden?
Maybe it's a tank job just to keep their pick because they know how good Zubac is. That they, if they play him even 5 minutes a night, they definitely won't finish with a bottom three record. Maybe it's that.
Well, and they have to play Timothy Mozgov if they want to eventually get rid of that contract too. So
absolutely, they have to now. It's almost back to me here, so it's up to my bench picks now. So I don't know who I'm going to pick, but let's see where we go. I'm hearing a little bit more positive news about Cody Zeller, so I'm a little bit happier about grabbing him in this situation. But
doesn't Roy Hibbert being there just terrify you?
Roy Hibbert terrifies me just because he's Roy Hibbert, not because he's any good. So, yeah, look, I probably do need smaller guy statistics at this point. My field goal percentage is so good. It's sitting so high that I can even take on, blasphemously, I can even take on Derrick Rose here. I don't feel good about it, though. I don't think anyone could feel good about taking Derrick Rose, but
the other options, there's just not. There's not guys who are going to get stats who are healthy right now.
That's yuck. I'll take him, but it's pretty yuck to do that. But he is now on my team again. I can absorb his field goal percentage. He'll boost my free throws. He'll boost my assists. He'll boost my criminal record, which is not normally a standard cat, but it helps in that area. I need threes. That is what I really need to focus on now. Let's see how Rose works out for me. I'm definitely not a huge fan of it, but it's again, like you said, at this point, you have to make some decisions that aren't necessarily great ones. Where are we now? So we're waiting on Nice Rilla to pick. Julius Randle went at 121 and Buddy Hield went at 122. Now, both of us think that Nance is potentially the superior player to Randall, but it appears pretty likely, or not even likely, obviously, that Luke Walton is giving Randall the bulk of the minutes there. Are you comfortable with him at this point in the draft, and what's your hopes for him now?
I don't think Julius Randle's percentages are good enough for me to have him in a rotisserie league, and I might take him in a head-to-head league. But honestly, usually Julius Randle goes before I'm willing to take him.
Yeah, nearly always for me.
Yeah, he's usually just not even in my line of sight, to be completely honest. It is interesting though that it does look like he's going to get tons of minutes. It's hard to reason that, because you watch Julius Randle play, and there's this certain air of you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what he's going to do. Whereas you're watching Larry Nance out there, and
Lance Nance,
you can tell what he's going to do. He's tracking everything. Larry Nance looks locked in. Julius Randle looks like he's just out there looking for the ball, and he's like fiending for it and stuff like that. I don't. Hopefully they just end up giving Nance a lot of minutes and Julius Randle fades, but he's also just 21 years old, so maybe we're being really too harsh on the kid.
Yeah, I feel like we are at times, but he just looks so lost and just makes so many bad decisions a lot of the time, and that just, I guess, sours me from him. Now, in this draft, we're into the area where we're talking about bench spots. So Ben Simmons went at pick 125 and Chris Bosh went at 126. Now, I believe that Bosh was an auto pick. Simmons may have been as well, but there's no reason to pick Bosh in any standard league, is there, Kyle?
No, I don't. It's so convoluted, the process of him coming back. But until we actually hear that the league is going to have their independent person test him and decide whether or not he is healthy enough to play in the NBA, until that happens, we should be considering Chris Bosh just not playing in the NBA again. Yeah,
that's unfortunately, it's looking like that. So look, I grabbed him with the last pick in a dynasty draft. Just I can put him in IR, and hopefully that it comes to be in a couple of years' time or even next season. But for this season, I can't see a way that he plays, and there's a real chance he never plays again. So I could easily just cut him with that pick 250 that I made there, rather than pick 126 that he went in this draft. Mason Plumlee went at 127. I get a lot of questions about Mason Plumlee. He was quite useful last season. The problem is he's now got to share minutes with Ed Davis, Myers Leonard, and Festus Ezeli, given that they're not going to play a lot of those guys at the 4 now. I find it hard to find any way that Plumlee is better than what he was last season. Do you think there's a way that he can do that?
It's hard to imagine it with Aminu starting at power forward and so many other guys there available to play at center. I mean, there's 4 guys who you could arguably say, well, yeah, there's 4 guys who are going to be in the rotation there at center if everybody's healthy. And it's just hard to imagine any of them running away with the minutes at any point this season, really.
Your pick now with your round 11 pick, what are you looking at doing here?
I decided to go with TJ Warren. I just like he should be starting at small forward, or he's expected to start at small forward for the Suns this year. And he gets a really good field goal percentage, and with the bigger role, hopefully he does a little bit more across the board.
He is a really efficient scorer. You need him to add some threes and to add some steals, but I like him as a really late pick this season just because of his ability to score at a high rate of efficiency is pretty exciting. Now, again, I'm looking at bench guys here, so Tyreke Evans is definitely someone that's going to be marginally appealing to me just because I can sit him there. We know that he can be a top 50 player when he gets on the court. Now, whether he gets on the court remains to be seen, but he's got significant upside at this point in the draft. My other options when it gets down to me here, I've got Tim Frazier as another selection there. And again, that might be for 2 months when Holiday's out. That can work in my favor. Now, you picked Domantas Sabonis with pick 134, Kyle. I know you're big on Sabonis. When I was speaking with Kevin Pelton the other day, there's a real chance that he leads rookies potentially in minutes this season, because not many rookies are going to be starting, are they?
No, we're not going to see a lot of rookies starting to begin the season, and but it looks like Domantas Sabonis is going to start at power forward for the Thunder, so he's got potential to put up really good percentages, and I just got him with pick like 135 or something, so it's a pretty good spot to grab him. I will say I wish I would have waited until my final pick to get him, because nobody's looking at him for whatever reason, but I wish I would have just taken Justice Winslow with this last pick because I'm high on him and I like his potential.
He's definitely got a lot of potential. He hasn't shown really anything to say that it's going to translate at this point, but the opportunity is going to be there. He could easily lead the team in minutes this season. He's just going to be on the court for his defensive purposes regardless, and maybe he starts lucking into some more offensive type statistics. We'll see, but he's a solid pick at this point in the draft, no doubt about it at all. I'm not sure he's going to make it down to me to pick 142, but there's a couple of options here. Now, there's some really interesting sleepery type guys. Terrence Jones, Nance we've talked about, Trey Lyles are also coming up here in the list of players. Derek Favors is still out with a knee problem. I don't hate grabbing Lyles with a last pick, especially in a head-to-head, and using it almost as a waiver selection. Hey, I use him for the first week, maybe if Favors sits out that first week, and then move on from there, because we know that when he starts, he's going to put up some really, really good numbers. Do you understand what I mean by just grabbing that, using that last pick in more of a head-to-head situation as a waiver addition?
Yeah, I guess you mean for the first week, like a matchup situation? Yeah, totally, absolutely.
Like, I might get 1 week's worth out of Lyles, but if I grab someone with that draft pick and then I ended up dropping them and then picking up Lyles for that first week, what's the difference? So I might draft him with this last pick, use him for this first, and you can even look at it schedule-wise. Which team in the first week has got 5 games or 4 games and everyone else has got 3? Maybe I grab a player from that team, use him for that first week, and then move on from that. That's another way you can look at a last pick in a head-to-head format too. Now, Lyles just went at 138, Korver at 139, Tyreke at 140, so everyone I've just spoken about is gone. Doesn't work all that well for me. Let's see what I'm going to make my decision on here. Michael Carter-Williams. Probably not. I think I'll take Justice Winslow if he's around here, Kyle. And it gets to my
I'm worried about his free throw percentage, but he might not take a lot of free throws. You're worried a little bit about his field goal percentage, but with Justice Winslow in this rotisserie format, you're kind of taking him as a do or die flyer. He might be really good and you end up using him a lot, or you might sit him on your bench for the first month while he gets over the hiccups of kind of having a larger offensive role.
All right, so Jamal Green just went, which I think is a really nice pick at that spot. I'm going to take Winslow here, and again, he's just going to say, what's wrong?
I missed that. Well, I knew there was somebody, I just wasn't on my radar, that I skipped over while I was scrolling through and building up my queue, and it was Green. Jamal Green's a great pick at this point in a rotisserie draft.
I'm also annoyed that Etuan Moore has gone off the board as well. He's looked awesome in preseason so far. He's got a real chance to even sustain value as the season goes on, but initially he's been the Pelicans' best player pretty much throughout preseason, so he's a guy that I'm looking for. He's never going to keep up the sort of percentages that he's shooting, but he's still been really, really impressive so far, so I do like him now. It's almost coming around to my last selection in this draft. I was going to say I don't hate Terrence Jones, but I do. I could grab him with the last pick. Zebo's an option here as well, although I'm not convinced of him having a great season. Let's see. Cody Zeller is still around. I feel like I can't go past him with pick 147 if he's actually still around. Or did he just go? No, he's still around. I can't even see him on the list here. How far down does Yahoo have Cody Zeller? 162. Okay. Well, I can get behind drafting him with my very last pick in the draft. Because you might be worried about Hibbert, but this is my last pick. Like, who knows? He's a better player than Hibbert. If his knee is okay, which hopefully it's getting that way, then I don't mind it. Now, Jamal Murray and Chris Dunn just went off the board, and so did Evan Turner. I've been really impressed with Jamal Murray so far this preseason. What have you thought of him?
He looks really good, particularly scoring, but he keeps stumbling into these big assist games too, or at least good assist games, and it makes you wonder about just how high his ceiling is, even as a rookie this year. So I'm keeping an eye on it. I have him in my queue. I'm considering it with my last pick, but of course
he's gone.
He's gone. Yeah, exactly.
Your boyfriend is still there. Stanley Johnson is still available with your upcoming pick as well. You got these flyer type guys, Terrence Jones and Jared Sullinger, Larry Nance. Zach Randolph was the other guy that I was considering with my pick where I took Cody Zeller. So he's another option there. And we talked about Marc Gasol hitting threes. Well, Randolph hit 4 in a game the other day, so he's definitely looking to take those threes. And he's had some seasons in the past where he has been a decent 3-point shooter as well, hasn't he?
Yes. Yep. Who are we talking about?
Zach Randolph.
I'm like, yeah, he took some 3-point shots back when he was playing for New York, but then he went away from it for some reason. But it be what it be.
We are down to the final 7 picks here, Kyle. Any tips you have for people who are drafting in the next couple of days? Like, what's one thing, if you had to tell one person one thing heading into a draft, what's your number one piece of advice, do you think?
Just know who's injured so that you don't overdraft injured people, kind of like theoretically I did with Drew Holiday in this draft. That's always the biggest thing to me. Just, you don't want to end up drafting somebody who's out for the whole year. You don't want to be the guy who drafts, Chris Middleton or Chris Bosh or something like that. So, other than that, son of a biscuit.
What, Marquez Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's looked good, hasn't he?
Yeah. Go look up some Marquise Chris stuff, because it's fun, and he might be a really good, really fun guy to take with your final pick in your draft right now.
Yeah, Marquise Chris has looked really good. He's going to have to be in the rotation at some point, or pretty much straight away, whether they play him as the 5. They've still got Chandler and Len there, but one of those guys gets moved on from. He's looked good. He still always looks half a step slow to me in his decision-making, and he's doing a lot based on instinct, but that will easily grow, and he's looked really impressive so far. And it's, I'm not shocked, because he had, in very 2 defined ways, he was going to go. He was going to be terrible, or he was going to be awesome. And at this point, he's leaning towards awesome, but there wasn't much middle ground to me. It wasn't like he's going to just get by. It was going to be, he's got no idea what he's doing, or he's going to look great. And he's looked great, but I think that maybe when we get to the regular season, that other teams will start focusing on him a little bit more, and his decision-making might come into play. And that's far from the top level of his skill set at the moment. All right, you've got 3 picks left. Lou Williams went at 153. Who do you want here with your pick? You got 1 pick before you.
I am looking at either Larry Nance or potentially Thon Maker with my final pick.
All right, so I'll give you this time to just talk about Thon Maker now, because I know you want to.
In the Bucks' latest preseason game, Thon Maker started at center, but they used him as a full court press defensive option. So, like, the whole time he was in the game, he was pressing the whole time, and then he was guarding out on the perimeter in the half court set. They weren't even using him to protect the rim. They were using him as this huge disruptive option out at the ball handler. And that's interesting to me. If that's how they're looking to use him, and if Thon Maker is already capable of doing that defensively, then he's somebody who you can play at any single position on the court, which means it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter who you play him with. You can play him with Greg Monroe. You can play him with anybody you want.
He's got so much energy on the court. He's up and down the court. He can guard the perimeter. He can handle the ball as well. He can dribble. He can shoot. Interesting to see. Look, they do need to clear some room for him with Henson and Monroe and Teletovic and Parker and Plumlee in that front court as well. But as you mentioned before, Giannis has been playing the 2, Jabari's been playing the 3, so that gives him some opportunity there to play in the front court immediately, and it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. Now, we are done with the draft now, Kyle. I'll switch the screen back over to the draft track, and we can see how it looks in terms of projected standings for my team and for every other team as well. Let's see. Now, Yahoo's projected standings are a little bit different to ours because they use their own projected stats to do that. I obviously wouldn't be trusting their projected stats. This is a company that had Evan Fournier ranked outside the top 200 to begin the season, so you decide whether you want to put too much faith in that. Projected standings, my team comes out number 1, so I'm pretty happy about that, but that's obviously because I'm using our stats to do the drafting. So I come out at number 1 there. Nice Riller at 2, Jonathan, Cheez-It, Matt, Brian, Josh, Mike, Spencer, Kyle, and Tom and Jay Martin rounding out the rear of this team. Overall, Kyle, what was your biggest regret in this draft? Drew Holiday?
Probably drafting Drew Holiday too early, but you get to those certain points in your draft where you're looking at your team, and I had D'Angelo Russell as the only point guard player on my team at that time. I had LeBron James, so I was getting assists from there, but I had nobody else at point guard, and Jeremy Lin had already been taken. Pretty much all the good mid-round point guards had been taken. I was looking at having to go after a guy like Rajon Rondo, who has his issues in certain respects, or another guy who kind of has warts. So I decided to take the guy who's going to miss the first month of the season most likely.
Yeah, but when he comes back, he could be a top 20 guy, so it could definitely work out in your favour. Kyle, we're done with the draft now. Thank you for taking part in it once again and chatting. It's so hard to talk about stuff and make the draft decisions as accurately as you would like. That's what I found anyway. So sometimes I'm a bit fumbly with my words or my choices, so maybe we can use that excuse for you going a little bit early on Drew, but even then, it's not a bad pick because it is tough to talk, do a show while doing a draft at the same time. It's not that easy, is it, Kyle?
It's not, and you also expect in these kind of drafts where you've got a bunch of people who listen to the podcast or whatever, it's going to be harder. These people are more informed, and if they're looking at their notes and they're trying to determine, oh shoot, there aren't any point guards. I mean, I was on the end. I had to take risks, so I'm not trying to defend it. I think I drafted Drew Holiday too early, but I had my fears that drove the pick anyways. But overall, I'm at the complete bottom of the Yahoo projected standings, and I take that as a badge of honor.
So you should. Now, the teams that punted free throws, Mike, who was way down in his free throws, he came out in our projected standings as fifth worst, so he's not right at the top. The top two teams, myself and Nice Rilla, the lowest category I've got is a 4 in three-pointers, and he's got a 5 in points. So sort of going back to that, it's tough to win or be competitive while punting. The third team, Jonathan, has got a 3 in free throw percentage, and he finishes in third. And then Cheese-It has a 1 in blocks and a 2 in rebounds, so he's gone very small man heavy, but that's again something that I talk about. I think you can finish easily top 4 or 5 by punting, but it's really tough to get the win, and that's basically how these projected standings have played it out at this point. Kyle, thank you for coming on and chatting with me. What do you want to plug before you go?
Thanks for having me on, Josh. I've got a couple of articles up on BBM, Basketball Monster, the Overlooked Players, Part 1 and Part 2. So that's some really kind of deep league stuff. If you're trying to look for who's going to be next, this season's Will Barton, that's the article that you should read.
Go and check those out. They're great. They're long, and there's an accompanying podcast with both of those articles we've got out there where we go through it, myself and Kyle talking about it, so check all that out, of course. Subscribe to this show on iTunes, on Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, wherever. Leave a 5-star review. It's tremendous when you do that. And if anyone's looking to advertise on the program, hit me up, let me know, and we can get some sponsors on the show, and we can promote your business on this podcast as well. Kyle, thank you again.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone.